So let's go ahead and create a Linux virtual machine in Azure and set her up so we can connect using SSH with public and private keys. So go to new virtual machines, click add, you'll pick Ubuntu, create, put in a name, just type HHD, user, we'll say a Linux user. For SSH public key, we're going to use the public key we generated previously using the PuttyGen application. We just copy that out of Notepad, drop it in here. We create a new resource script to put it in. Accept the default the deployment location. Select virtual machine size. We just pick A1. We'll take all of these default settings. Wait for the validation to pass, and then click OK to go ahead and deploy the Ubuntu server. Linux virtual machine, and that'll take a couple of minutes to deploy. So that Ubuntu server is now deployed. The various settings you specified during the setup, and under the overview section we want to take the public IP address, you can copy that, and we want to create a connection settings then in the PuTTY configuration tool. So in here we have a session we created earlier. So we want to specify the Linux user, the @ sign, and this can be either the fully qualified domain name or the IP address. So we drop in the IP address here, which we copied from the portal. Specify the port value of 22, it's over SSH. We'll save that configuration. One other setting we need to configure is the private key to match the public key we specified for the Linux virtual machine. So on the connection, SSH, then auth, you click browse, point to our private key. Again, go back to the session, you click save so you don't have to configure this again. There's various other settings you can specify in the PuTTY configuration. One useful one is in tunnels, where you can map local port settings to virtual machine settings. We won't do that here. We really just want to do the connection. And then to connect to the Ubuntu server, we just click open. We get prompted with a dialog session, and that shell opens up then and allows us to connect to the Linux virtual machine. And this is a fully functioning Linux virtual machine. This is the Ubuntu server we just applied. You can run some commands. You can see the various files and folders available within it. Get some details about the Ubuntu server. That's the name we called it earlier on. And get some details about the virtual machine itself. And that allows us to connect. We have a fully functioning shell which is running on the local machine, connecting into the Ubuntu server, and we can run any Linux commands you want in this shell. One final thing just to point out is, if for any reason you wish to change the public-private key pairing that you're using, if they're compromised for any reason, you can always specify a new SSH public key value in your Linux virtual machine in the portal. Under the settings, go down to reset password, and in here you can specify or update the SSH public key you want to use, obviously having the private key associated with it available. This is where you would update your public key if you wish to change them from what you specified during the deployment.